The rain had been falling for hours, washing away footprints, hope, and the last pieces of a man's dignity. Soaked to the bone, carrying his exhausted little daughter in trembling arms, he stood in front of a house he had never seen before. He wasn't asking for money. He wasn't looking for charity. He only wanted a dry place where his little girl could stop shivering for one night. What happened after one woman opened that door would change not only his life, but everyone who crossed their path forever. Before we continue, if you believe that one act of kindness can change someone's destiny, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us bring more true-to-heart stories about hope, compassion, and second chances. Ethan Harper had never imagined life could collapse so quickly. Just 2 years earlier, he had owned a small construction business that kept food on the table and dreams alive. His wife, Lily, filled their tiny home with laughter while their 6-year-old daughter, Emma, believed her father could fix anything. Then tragedy struck without warning. A drunk driver took Lily's life on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. The grief shattered Ethan's heart, but the bills kept arriving. His business slowly failed as depression consumed every ounce of energy he had left. Clients disappeared, debts piled higher every month, and before long, the bank repossessed everything he had worked so hard to build. With nowhere else to turn, Ethan sold nearly every possession they owned. He slept in cheap motels until the money disappeared completely. Eventually, father and daughter found themselves living inside an old car that barely started. Ethan skipped meals so Emma could eat. Every night he whispered promises that tomorrow would be better, even when he no longer believed those words himself. That stormy evening felt like the final breaking point. Their car had finally died on the edge of a quiet neighborhood. Rain poured relentlessly as cold winds cut through their thin clothes. Emma had developed a fever, and Ethan's panic grew stronger with every passing minute. He knocked on several doors, but curtains moved and lights turned off. Fear had replaced compassion in many hearts. Finally, with almost no strength left, he reached one last house. The warm glow from inside seemed almost unreal against the darkness outside. He knocked softly, expecting another rejection. Instead, the door slowly opened. Standing there was Grace Bennett, a 34-year-old woman who lived alone after losing her own family years before. She noticed the frightened little girl sleeping against her father's shoulder before she even looked at the exhausted man standing in the rain. She saw soaked clothes, tired eyes, and the silent desperation no words could fully explain. Without asking uncomfortable questions, Grace stepped aside and welcomed them inside. Warm towels replaced freezing rain. A bowl of homemade soup replaced empty stomachs. Clean blankets replaced the cold uncertainty of another night outside. Emma fell asleep peacefully within minutes, something Ethan had not seen in weeks. As he watched his daughter resting safely on Grace's couch, tears rolled down his face for the first time since losing Lily. Grace didn't see a homeless stranger. She saw a father doing everything possible to protect his child. Over the next few days, she learned Ethan's story piece by piece. He wasn't lazy. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't looking for someone to rescue him forever. Life had simply crushed him beneath losses that no one should ever have to endure. Grace believed everyone deserved one genuine chance to stand again. Instead of handing him money, she offered something far more valuable. She helped him prepare a proper resume, contacted friends who owned local businesses, and encouraged him not to give up despite countless rejections. She watched Emma during interviews, packed lunches, and reminded Ethan that failure did not define his future. Weeks passed before an opportunity finally arrived. A respected building contractor needed someone experienced enough to supervise renovation projects. Ethan's years of construction knowledge impressed the employer immediately. He was hired on the spot. For the first time in many months, Ethan walked home carrying a paycheck instead of hopelessness. Although the salary wasn't large, it was enough to rent a modest apartment for himself and Emma. Grace helped them furnish it using donated furniture and second-hand decorations. Emma proudly placed her mother's photograph on a small wooden shelf beside her bed, smiling for the first time since their hardest days began. Life slowly returned to normal. Ethan worked tirelessly, arriving early and leaving late. His honesty and dedication quickly earned promotions. Within 3 years she had become operations manager for the company that had once taken a chance on him. He saved every extra dollar, determined never to let his daughter experience homelessness again. Meanwhile, Grace continued volunteering at local shelters, quietly helping families facing the same struggles Ethan once endured. She never expected recognition. She believed kindness mattered most when nobody was watching. One afternoon, Ethan visited the very neighborhood where everything had changed. He stood outside Grace's house, not carrying desperation this time, but gratitude. Beside him stood Emma, now smiling confidently in her school uniform. Together they presented Grace with a small wooden plaque Ethan had handcrafted himself. Carved into the polished oak were simple words that carried enormous meaning. One open door can rebuild an entire life. Grace held the gift tightly as tears filled her eyes. She realized that the smallest decision she had made on one rainy evening had echoed far beyond that single night. Inspired by Grace's compassion, Ethan launched a non-profit organization dedicated to helping struggling single parents rebuild their lives through job training, emergency housing, and emotional support. Instead of temporary handouts, they focused on restoring confidence, dignity, and independence. Within 5 years, hundreds of families found hope through programs Ethan had created. Every success story reminded him of the woman who had refused to judge appearances. Emma eventually graduated with honors and chose to study social work. She often told people that her greatest hero wasn't someone famous. It was the woman who answered a knock at the door when everyone else stayed silent. Kindness had traveled farther than anyone could have imagined. Perhaps the greatest miracle wasn't that Ethan escaped homelessness. The real miracle was that one compassionate decision multiplied into hundreds of lives transformed, proving that generosity never truly ends where it begins. If this story touched your heart, please write in the comments, "One act of kindness can change a life." We'd love to know that this message reached you. As the years passed, Ethan often remembered that cold night whenever rain tapped gently against his windows. Instead of painful memories, he now felt overwhelming gratitude. Storms no longer reminded him of loss. They reminded him that even during life's darkest moments, one light can guide someone home. If this story inspired you, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Together, we can spread stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Because sometimes the greatest heroes don't wear uniforms or make headlines. Sometimes they simply open a door when everyone else keeps theirs closed. And in doing so, they don't just save a stranger from the rain, they help rebuild an entire life.